Okay, so herkese iyi akşamlar arkadaşlar. Dersimize hoş geldiniz. Hemen şimdi başlıyoruz. So welcome everyone. Welcome to our lesson. We are starting now. And let me change the date by the way. It's not June 2nd, it's 3rd. Okay, bugün 3 Haziran ve causative voice hakkında konuşacağız. We will talk about the causative voice. There will be, of course, the subtitles or subcategories like little details, and then we will have some lines of Turkish, as we call it, like the interesting facts or interesting details, and we will do some exercises, and the lesson will end. So let's start with understanding what's the causative voice. These terms can be overwhelming, they can be confusing if you are not familiar with linguistics or if you are not familiar with learning languages in general. So I will try to keep it beginner friendly, I will try to keep it learner friendly. So yes, I will explain the causative voice and then I will show how it works in Turkish. And then the C and D parts are very important because especially the D parts, there are different endings depending on the some details, some factors. That's what I call them. Like different options have different results. And then we will have the causative voice in different tenses. That's just the boring part, just a reminder. We will just skip that part very quickly. So as you can see in that movie picture, like the devil made me do it. In Turkish that would be bana bunu şeytan yaptırdı. So shaitan is the devil, bana is like me, and bunu, it or this, I wanted to translate it with this, like the devil made me do this. Şeytan yaptırdı. But there's this tır in the conjugation with the verb, like yap, to do, but yaptır, to make someone do something, and the is the passive voice, like made, like make in the past. So made me do it, yaptırdı. I did the action, but there was devil behind me or inside me, and he made me do it. Like something, some outer force caused this action. So yeah, this little suffix changes everything. Now let's learn the details. Let's get our before the details, one more picture just to see a comparison between an active voice and causative voice. So when you are cutting your hair, you can say saçımı kesiyorum. Saç means hair, like saçım, my hair, and just a rule, accusative ending. Saçımı kes, cut, iyor, like I am, ben, I am cutting my hair. But then, when you go to a hairdresser and have them cut your hair for you, like you pay them literally, you can say this sentence like saçımı kestiriyorum. There's the little suffix again. Saçımı kestiriyorum. I am getting my hair cut. Okay? And you can see this word order, sentence structure. I don't know why there are two arrows. Let me delete one. Ben, subject, saçımı, object, kesiyorum, verb, I am cutting my hair. But then, when you say this in the causative voice, there is this causative object, one more element in the sentence, one more member of the sentence. In this part, this is like I am having the hairdresser. Coiffeur means a hairdresser. And the a ending, I will explain why we have a here. I am getting my hair cut, or by the hairdresser, or I'm getting the hairdresser cuts my hair. This extra ending is the causative voice, or this extra member is needed in the causative voice. So now, details and some more definitions, descriptions, so you can read it yourself. So what is the causative voice? It's basically a sentence structure in which the subject of the sentence, like Ben, I, or someone else, the dresser, causes someone to perform, wait, not an, but an action. Perform an action for them. In other words, like simply, when you make someone do something, that's basically all about the causative voice. When you make someone do something, you use this causative voice, and there are some endings. Like in English, the sentence structure is different. In Turkish, all you are doing is adding one little suffix into the conjugation and having one more member in the list. So let's have our tables just to compare the Turkish and English sentences, or active and causative. Ben kitap okuyorum. I am reading a book. Kitap, book. Oku, read. Okuyorum. I am reading a book. Like in this active voice, it is me who is doing the action. I am reading the book. But when you move to causative, it becomes ben öğrencilere kitap okutuyorum. Like I'm making the students read a book. This time, students are the ones doing the action of reading, but I am making them do this action. I'm causing them to do it. And you can see this T this time. It's not always tır. There can be T as well. And there are so many other suffixes. We will get to that. So, as you have noticed, as I have explained it, there's a T, and in the previous example there was tır. We add one letter. Sometimes it can be a suffix, like one letter, 3 letters, doesn't matter, it's still a suffix. Okuyorum went to okutuyorum. It changed a little with a little addition. And that's exactly what we're talking about here. We are talking about the causative voice suffix. The T is not the only one. There are more, I think it was like 5 of them. In the next slide, we'll learn the differences, or first what they are and the differences between those 5 causative voices. And here they are. So we have seen T and der before, but let me explain this table a bit more in details for you. So we have these base suffixes. They are like the default options, default forms, like ar, der, it, and t. They change the vowel here. They change some form based on this vowel harmony. This is one of the principles, very important rule of the Turkish language. So two-way vowel harmony, r, just 2 options. And then 4-way vowel harmony, ir, ur. Again, 4-way, dir, dur. Actually, I want to make a addition here. Like this can also be tir, tur, tür. And because of the consonant hardening rules. Depending on the last letter, you can also have tırtır, tırtır. These are all about the Turkish basics. Again, four-way and T, none. There's no vowel here. There's no harmony. So these are our 5 causative endings. They are actually a bit similar to each other, like R and then der, then it and T. You can memorize it easily. So let's have some examples. Like, what do they mean? They basically mean the same thing. Like, all of them mean the same thing, like making someone do something. Öğrenciler ipi kopardı. Students broke the rope off. Kopmak, to break or breaking off, but koparmak, breaking something off. There's an object. Öğretmen dersi bitirdi. The teacher ended the lesson. Öğretmen öğrencilere hikaye yazdırdı. Teacher make the students, öğrencilere hikaye, story yazdırdı. Öğretmen öğrencileri korkuttu. Kork is the stem. Ut is our ending here. And the to is just the past tense suffix, like made it happened in the past. Öğretmen öğrencilere kitap okuttu. The T suffix here and the past tense again. Oku is the verb root. It means to read. So this can look confusing. We will go into details of each suffix in a bit. So I want to make this a reminder. Sometimes, as you can see, the ending, the case marker, changes based on the... Actually, I will not expose that yet. I will not spoil the term yet. It changes. Sometimes we use accusative, like öğrencileri. Sometimes it's dative, like öğrencilere. In 2 different examples, like öğrencileri korkuttu, öğrencilere kitap okuttu. These endings are different. There's a reason for that. There's a set of rules. There's a set of like factors to check to make sure if you need E or E at the end. So we will talk about this now. So this part is about the case marker with the causative voice. But before understanding the causative, the dative or accusative, we need to understand these new terms: transitive, intransitive. What do they mean? These are just a bit too much boring grammar, boring terms, so I will try to sum it up for you. I made this quick summary. You can read the description on your own. So we need to understand the nature of the verb. Like, if the verb can take an object, it's a transitive verb. If the verb cannot take an object, it's an intransitive verb. Okay? And of course, we need examples for this information to sink in our head. This is a lot to process. This is a lot to take in. So let's have these examples. Examples for both categories, intransitive and transitive. Dative for the transitive, accusative for the intransitive. Yes, exactly. We will get to that in a bit. I'm just trying to make sure everyone understands what an intransitive verb is, what is an intransitive verb is. Thank you, Monica. See you next time. So we have our verbs here. They are all basic verbs. Like, you can see all the basic actions like yazmak, to write, to read, to watch, to sleep, to cry, to laugh. But they are different in technicality, if that makes sense. Like in technical terms, they are different. Yazmak, it's transitive. Transitive means it can take an object. So that means you can write something. Like you can literally say, I'm writing a story. I'm writing a message. I'm writing whatever. But intransitive means it cannot take an object. Like in other words, you cannot say like I am sleeping what? Nothing. I'm just sleeping. Or I'm crying, no objects. Just crying. I'm crying. Or I'm laughing. Okay, but laughing what? Nothing. But these ones you can ask like writing what as a story. It returns an answer. Reading a book, like reading what? Reading a book. Watching, you're watching what? I'm watching a movie. Film izliyorum. They all return an object. They have an answer. That's the difference. Okay? As I said earlier, like you can't say cry and like I can't say anything, or laugh. I can't put anything with laugh. It's just I am laughing. Gülüyorum. That's the main difference. Of course, there are some expressions like cry me a river and other stuff, but in the daily life, it's just ağlıyorum. I'm crying. Gülüyorum. I'm laughing. So that's the main difference. And one more tip in order to identify if your verb is transitive or intransitive, like you can simply ask o or onu. So onu yaz, write it. This makes sense. You can write something. It's transitive. It has an object. It can take an object. And then onu ağla, like cry it. No, it doesn't make sense. We don't say this. That's why it's intransitive. Okay, so before we understand how to choose like accusative or dative, we need to understand these terms and the difference between these two types of verbs. Now, let's move to our actual point, actual subject. This time, we will try to decide between choosing accusative or dative endings, or in simple words, between choosing ı or i or ü or a or e, like öğrencilere or öğrencileri. How do we know which ending we use? So we determine that based on whether the verb is transitive or intransitive. So next in this slide, we'll talk about this. So let's have our table again, and there it is. Oh, we are missing the arrows. Let me put them here. Yes. So if your main verb is transitive, wait, Megan, I said yes to your question earlier. I think I made a mistake. It's the other way around. You can see it now. If transitive, then dative. If intransitive, then accusative. There's this rule that's very important to remember. When I give you examples, I will try to go step by step and explain why this is so important. Okay? Oh, that's what you typed, and I read it wrong this time. I can get confused sometimes. Yes, right. So let's have examples. This will make sense better. Okumak. So I can say like onu okumak, like read, to read and read it. That makes sense. You like read what? Read a book. I don't know, read a story, read whatever. It has an object. It's transitive. That's why I need dative ending. Ahmet kitabı okuyor. That's just the main sentence. Ahmet is reading the book. When you put this in the causative voice, you put e on Ahmet. Ahmet, like Mehmet, another person, another guy, Mehmet. Ahmet'e kitabı okutuyor. Mehmet Ahmet'e kitabı okutuyor. Mehmet is making Ahmet read the book. So, as you can see, the object in the main sentence, kitabı, it stays the same. It retains its own case marker. We are putting the accusative or dative on the subject of the main sentence because the subject becomes the new object. Okay? As maybe you can remember it from here. Like ben. Oh no, that's a different example. Never mind. Ahmet is the subject here, but in the accusative case, it becomes the new object. And next one, gülmek, to laugh. Like onu gülmek, that doesn't make sense. It's intransitive. You can't say like laugh it. You can just say laugh. Ahmet gülüyor. Ahmet is laughing. And then Mehmet Ahmet'i güldürüyor. Mehmet Ahmet'i güldürüyor. Mehmet is making Ahmet laugh. So Ahmet is the subject here in the main sentence. By main sentence, I mean the previous form, whatever you want to call it. The active voice, active sentence. Ahmet is laughing. Mehmet is making Ahmet laugh. So this time I put E because gülmek is intransitive, because you cannot say onu gülmek, like laugh it doesn't make sense. Therefore use accusative, and accusative is E. Okay, I hope now that makes sense a bit more. That makes more sense now, I hope. Maybe you are still confused, maybe you still need more practice. But if you know the basics, if you understand the logic, all you need to do is just practicing. And we will do practice in this lesson at the end. And also there will be homework tomorrow as usual. So again, just quick tip. So we say Ahmet'e okutuyor, dative, because okumak is transitive. And then we say Ahmet'i güldürüyor, accusative, gülmek is intransitive. That's just the main rule. Okay, you basically check whether or not, or you basically check if the verb is transitive, like you can say onu okutmak, or intransitive. Okay, if there are no questions about this part, I will move to the next one, because next parts will get a bit more detailed, a bit more complicated. Okay, I guess it's all clear, I hope. So now, what to do now? We need to do, we need to understand when to choose our causative suffixes. Oh, the two suffixes are missing. Let's bring them to, yes. So when do we choose r, their, ut, t? These are all the 5 causative suffixes. And how do we choose them? So I will just read this part myself. I will explain it. You can read it later when I give you the PDF. So now we know what a transitive and intransitive mean. And now we know which case marker we use, like accusative or dative, but have to choose which ending here. Now we will talk about them. Let's just move to next subject, to next slide. What do we have in the list? We have ır. So things are getting a little bit complicated. So that's why I have less good news. Because you need to count the number of the syllables. Like some verbs, not somet, some verbs with one syllable takes this suffix. And some is the keyword here. Not all verbs with one syllables do that. Just most of them or some of them take this suffix. So what does that mean? What is the syllable? How do we count them? So here are some examples. Pişmek, bitmek, doğmak, düşmek. So how do we count the syllables, or what is a syllable in the first place? Well, I don't know the definition of a syllable, but I know that it's just the sound in a verb like pişmek. Or if I want to give you a different example about a syllable like this, if we have like araba, which means car, the syllables will be a, ra, ba, but like the separable parts. Araba, this is how you separate them. And yes, don't count the mek parts. Except for mek, maybe I can even change the color like this. Except for the mek part, or mak part, depending on the harmony, you count the syllables like just one. Piş, bit, do, düş. That's why, because they have one syllable, you have ır or ur. Like o, there's o in it, the next suffix is ur. There is e in it, the next suffix is ir. There's ü in it, the next vowel, let me correct myself, the next vowel is ür. So, pişmek, I will say them one by one instead of typing them. To cook, like cooking, but not you cooking it. You cooking it or someone cooking it would be pişirmek. Pişmek would be a sentence like the food is cooking on the stove. Like you left it there, you are letting it cook on itself. So that's when you will say pişmek. Yemek pişiyor. Actually, I can even show the sentences now. Yemek pişiyor. Açmak, açır, no. Unfortunately, it's not one of these. I said some is the keyword. Açmak doesn't fit in this part. Açtırmak. We have tır with açmak. Okay, so yemek pişti, like the food cooked. The food cooked. Like it's ready to eat. Now it's cooked. And annem, my mom, yemeği pişirdi. My mom cooked the food. This time my mom is doing the action, or my mom is causing the food to cook. I know this sounds a little funny, a little weird, but that's how we say it. And I see a lot of confusion about this. Like ders bitti, lesson ended, öğretmen dersi bitirdi. So I think the confusion comes from direct translation, because when you translate to end, it can too translate to bitmek or bitirmek. But bitmek is literally to end, bitirmek to end something. It always takes an object. Öğretmen dersi bitirdi. The teacher finished or ended the lesson. And ben 1990'da doğdum. I was born in this year. I don't want to say it. Annem beni 1990'da doğurdu. So I was born, yes, I did the action, but my mom caused me. So she literally gave birth to me. In English, that's how they say it. Giving birth is doğurmak. So my mom gave birth to me in this year. Annem beni doğurdu. Just a baby, but doing all the job on its own. So, yes, I mean, this is the technical part behind all of this grammar. But maybe if you want to, you can also remember these verbs with their new meanings. So, like to give a birth, to cook a food, to end something, and finally, the phone dropped on the floor, and I dropped the phone on the floor. I dropped it, like there's me behind it. I caused the phone to drop. Ben telefonu düşürdüm. Okay. I will write the English translations later when I give the PDF. I don't want to spend the time on it, on the typing, because I am explaining it in voice anyway. So I hope this is also clear. So just a quick recap. If there's one syllable in the verb, you can put ır, but some of them. It may not work sometimes. And unfortunately, there's no list about all these verbs. Like, there's no list that shows if it takes ır or if it takes ar. You will need to find out by, trial and error. You can try putting ır. If it doesn't work, natives will correct you and then you will understand and learn it doesn't take ır. But most of the time, it may take ır. It just depends on the verb. Okay, and now, dır. What is the condition for this suffix? Like, when do we use this suffix? Like, based on which options? I have bad news because there's basically like nothing much to understand. Like, there's no factors to check except for some little things. Like, regardless of the syllable count, it works with any verb. So I call it the bad news because it is, confusing. There's nothing to check. There's no there's no way to know if you should use this. But like a little bit good news, it's very common and it's the most common out of all the other suffixes. So I will say, like, when in doubt, maybe you use dır. Most of the time, if you're lucky, it may be correct. So, like, some examples here again. You can see that this time the syllable count increases to 2. Din, lan. Except for mek, of course. Even though we have 2 syllables, we still have dir. I call this native intuition. You just need to feel it. And in order to feel it, you just need to do practice. So yapmak, to do, yaptırmak, to make someone do something. Kesmek, to cut, kesirmek, to make someone cut something. Almak, to take, aldırmak, to make someone take something. Dinlenmek, to rest, dinlendirmek, to make someone rest. like to let someone rest. So some examples here. Ben yemek yaptım. I made food. Annem bana yemek yaptırdı. My mom made me cook food. Or my mom made me make food. I know this gets a little bit like tongue twister, but people say this sentence in real life, both in English and Turkish. And like ben becomes bana, that's dative, because yapmak is transitive. You can say onu yaptım, I did it. That's why it becomes bana. And berber saçımı kesti. Ben berbere saçımı kestirdim. Our example from the introduction parts, like berbere saçımı kestirdim. I made the hairdresser or berber cut my hair. Ben elma aldım. I bought apples. Annem bana elma aldırdı. My mom made me buy apples. Ayaklarım dinlendi. My feet are rested. Like they rested. I rested my feet. I made the action. Or I caused my feet to do the action of resting. I know, again, it's a bit silly, but that's the logic behind it. So when you say basically I rested my arm, kolumu dinlendirdim. I rested my feet. Ayaklarımı dinlendirdim. Elma aldırdım. I got apples. I got apples bought. Or I asked, like I literally asked and she did it. She bought it for me. Okay? So again, quick recap. Regardless of the syllable count, there's no way to check if we use der, but it's very common. So you will probably be lucky if you try. It will probably work. So just try to use this on the verbs that you know and see if it works. So we will move to the next. I gave my feet a rest. Yeah, you can also put it that way. Exactly. And my mom got me an apple. Yes. No, not yes. I got the apple, but my mom asked me, or my mom made me. My mom had me buy an apple, exactly. Like she told me to go and buy apples. Okay, and next one. You're welcome, and thank you for being consistent, for always pushing further. Tomorrow there will be homework. If you want to do more practice, like the translations and the different type of exercises, you can check the homework channel, and that's all. Haftaya görüşürüz. See you next week. Kendinize iyi bakın. Take care. İyi akşamlar.